Who should go under the bus? If you're in a place of work or a high performance sporting environment and things go as badly wrong as they did for England in the Ashes over the winter, for me, something's got to change, right? Personnel's got to change, way of doing things has got to change, and we're underway with this review. So, yeah, welcome to Leading Edge. Let's discuss, in my opinion, what needed to change following the Ashes debacle. So there's three people to discuss: Stokes, Key, McCullum, and then there can be a separate discussion about the ECB, Richard Gould, and that side of things. So I want to start with Stokes. For me, this is a very easy one. We need Ben Stokes to continue as long as he's fit and he's ready to continue as England captain. We need him to continue. Few reasons for this. Number one, he's the best man for the job. It's as simple as that. I think the players respect him. He leads from the front, and his performances with the bat weren't great in Australia and a little bit against India, but his bowling has been outstanding. The way you can't get the ball out of his hand, he leads from the front. He runs in, he runs in, he runs in. I think his batting will come back. And number two, I have to be honest with you, the fact that Harry Brook is next in line scares the shit out of me, and I don't think that is a road we should be going down. I think what we've seen from Harry Brook is that what's important to Harry Brook is Harry Brook. He does not care about the situation of the game, what bowler is on, what the position of the team is, what the needs of the team are, whether it's time to soak up some pressure. Harry Brook wants to show off, masturbate all over himself, and just play shot after shot after shot. And until that changes, unless it changes, for me, he cannot be captain of the Test team. You need somebody. Look, Stokes tried to adapt in the Ashes, right? He saw the folly of the ways of Bazball and the fact that you were going through these matches and we were making a fool of ourselves, right? And he tried to knuckle down and play a different way. He's the only one. Obviously, look, Root's are slightly different. Root's been playing a long time and he kind of plays his way. But, you look at Brook and Jamie Smith and these guys, it just wasn't acceptable. And for me, to have Brook step up as captain is just an absolute no at this time. Then you move on to Brendan McCullum. Now, I very much like Brendan McCullum. Our Test cricket has been more entertaining, and on the whole, it's been better, and we've won the series we should win. However, it kind of got to the point in his press conferences immediately after the Ashes where, look, I respect somebody who has their views and their takes and their way of doing things and believes in themselves, and there is a quality to that. However, it gets to the point where is it all a little bit sort of delusional now? Him saying, we need to an evolution rather than revolution. I think he described it as needing a bit of nip tuck, and then he said, "I make no apologies for running an informal environment." But the fact is that the environment, whatever it is he's running, was ruthlessly exposed in Australia, and he's given us a signal, right? He's not for turning. He's not for turning. I don't see what's going to change under McCullum. It's no good creating an atmosphere where we have beers, we play golf, great, but we need to be Australia, we need to be India, we need to improve our Test match cricket. I think the other thing worth considering is that McCullum is now our white ball coach, and for me, given the amount of cricket, the demands, and also given when our summer lies, for me it's got to be a two-man job. It's too much. It's just too much cricket for one man to run the whole show, the red ball and the white ball teams. And this is, how are you going to keep track of county cricket, that is a separate, slightly separate discussion. I don't think they even really care that much about county cricket. But given that there should be a certain amount of time dedicated to watching county cricket, seeing who's coming through, I just don't see how it can add up. So for me, personally, I would make a change of coach. And the really frustrating thing is that Gary Kirsten has just gone to Sri Lanka. So, we're sort of sitting on our hands. We've seen what the results are. One of the Premier coaches and somebody who's a bit more old school and would do things slightly differently has been available. I think he would be a better choice as red ball coach than McCullum. But he's gone to Sri Lanka. And with all respect to Sri Lanka, if he's gone to Sri Lanka, surely we could have landed him at England. And then, what McCullum's in his relative infancy with his white ball team. He wants to really, impose ultra-attacking, aggressive cricket. Then we can let him have his time and see what he can do with the white ball team. But for me, for red ball coach, the way it unfolded in Australia, coupled with the way we gifted it back to India last summer and the way we gifted the 23 Ashes to Australia, well, not gifted, but we drew that series. For me, it's time for a change with the test team. And then you have Rob Key, who I think the problem with Rob Key is there seems to be a massive disconnect between Team England and county cricket. And what Team England need to remember is, where did Stokes, Root, where do these guys come from? They get produced through county cricket. And I think the value of county cricket is being greatly diminished by the way it seems to be going. I understand very little time is spent watching county cricket. It seems that Key I think they sort of have a pool of players that they want to go with. You got to smash it. You got to score at 80, 100 a ball, 100 runs a ball, or you've got to bowl 90 miles an hour. And while there are some admirable qualities in that, there's a lot more nuance to Test cricket. It's called Test cricket for a reason. And yeah, I'm worried. I'm really worried about. There seems to be a very chummy sort of a lot of nepotism in the way it's gone. Zach Crawley, Kent guy with Key. How's he just keep getting picked all this time when he averages 30 and in a very large sample size of 50, 60, however many tests he's played? What do they see in Jofra Archer? Yeah, they see talent, but there's no good because his body's about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. He just can't stay fit. But he seems to be the golden boy and will keep getting a contract time after time after time. You look slightly a step further, Flintoff's big mates with Key, and all of a sudden, Flintoff's one of the main coaches at the ECB out of nowhere. What's happened to, all the other coaches who've paid their dues and worked hard. It seems to be all very chummy, matey. We all like each other. We all like the way we do things. We think we know better than the general public, than the supporters. We don't need to prepare. Who prepares, in 2025? Preparation was for decades before. Who plays warm-up games? Ultimately Key is the managing director. He sets the standard, he leads, and everything that follows from him is a result of the direction he's taking the cricket. And personally, I would make a change. I think there needs to be more meritocracy and less nepotism in the game. I think generally things have improved a bit under Key. I have liked bits of the McCullum reign, obviously the entertainment and some of the cricket's been fantastic to watch, but it's the results business, right? And this is top level sport, and the test results just aren't good enough. And also, yeah, we won was it the 2022 T20 World Cup with the sort of the fumes of the Owen Morgan team, but our 2023 World Cup defence was an absolute shambles, and we came up short again in the last. Some of our white ball cricket has been appalling as well, and when the focus is placed so much on the 100, why would it? Nobody else in the world is wasting their time playing the 100. So, yeah, I would make a change as well. Maybe look at somebody like Alex Stewart, somebody like that, who is a straight talker, who will promote people, give people opportunities on merit, and I think he'd be a good choice. The interesting thing will be if, say you had a completely different setup. You had Alex Stewart and you had Gary Kirsten. Just say, for the sake of example, how would the test team take that? If you parachute in a new philosophy, is Harry Brook going to start playing differently and listening? I heard, they were talking about Alistair Cook coming in as a batting coach, which I think would be great. But, are the batsmen actually going to listen to him? It seems like they're so dogmatic, they're so set in their ways about the way they want to play. It'd be very, very interesting to see. Just say Key stayed and a different coach came in. Is that coach going to be allowed to pick from county cricket as he sees fit, or is it going to be a case of, right, you're coming in, you're going to coach the team. These are the pool of players that we're going with. You might not have even barely have heard of some of them, but we like their character, we like them, and they can bowl 90 miles an hour or they can smash it out of the ground. And it's going to be a problem at that point, right? Because and it's going to be a problem at that point because you're going to have the clash of styles of, the more traditional way of Test cricket, which still works, by the way. That's how Australia beat us, right? They weren't playing Bazball or anything like that. Yeah, they had Travis Head, who picked his moments and went, but they played proper Test cricket. And then there's going to be the clash between the way our players have been told they're going to play, and that's the only way they're going to play. So it's a real delicate balance at the moment. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. Then the final thing is the ECB, and this is a slightly wider discussion. But what are they doing? Why do we spend August now playing the 100? Our test match is coming up this summer. We have New Zealand in June, and then Pakistan in September. And everything else gets sacrificed for this bullshit 100 competition, which is pointless. Nobody else plays it. Nobody else is ever going to play it. Now they've sold it off to the Indians. It's going to be a 2020 competition anyway. And our test cricket, county cricket gets pushed to the peripheries. How are we going to find spin bowlers if county cricket is played in April? Because spin bowlers don't get a game. They're not needed. Okay, how are spin bowlers going to bowl in long-form cricket in July, August, when it's taken up exclusively by white ball cricket? And also, you look at our white ball performances. They're poor. Why are they poor? Look at the state of our domestic 50-over competition. It's a joke. It's a second team / last year of your contract, the older pros. Or some kids. No, I've not heard of hardly any of the players who are playing in these games. The 2020 competition, the Blast, again, the standard and the availability of the top players, everything revolves around the 100. And our white ball cricket's suffering. Trevor Bayliss took us up to such a point, and Owen Morgan, and now we're on the way down because, where are the Jason Roys or the Alex Hales playing competitive white ball domestic cricket? They're not, because everything revolves around the 100, and it's just a real mess. And it really concerns me going forward. But look, personally, I would change. We have a review coming. I don't think they'll do anything. I think it's going to be more of the same, and we'll be discussing that very soon.